Hello, it's Brother Sean, and I'm not in my habit because it's sweltering here at 35 degrees and it is so hot, so forgive me. But more importantly, this short video is a continuation of the previous video about Mary Magdalena. Is there a need to balance the divine masculine energies of the risen cosmic Christ with the divine feminine energies of Magdalena? What do you think? Well, up until a few years ago, I would have said it doesn't really matter. But I guess I was coming from ignorance. Because throughout my life, having nursed for 38 years, I suddenly realized now that I had more feminine energy than masculine energy. Because the nursing profession brings out that maternal energy, though I was masculine, male. And at that time, I entered nursing when it was predominantly a female profession. In other words, we had two intakes of student nurses a year. There were 64 students per intake, and 4 were male nurses. So that was 60 females to 4 males. So there's an imbalance of energy to start with. But I suddenly realized a few years ago that the reason why there was more female energy in my being was because of my mistrust of God, who was represented and portrayed as Father, male energy. And I guess that came from my upbringing as a child with my father, a lovely, beautiful man to his friends, but I love him still and I forgive him. But his abrupt, abusive streak left an indelible negative mindset in my being, where I was fearful of men. And I carried that fear throughout my life. In fact, I don't think I recall ever being in a pub with male friends. I would always automatically prefer to stay at home. So there you have it. But when I was introduced by Jesus and Magdalena back in December 1999 to their energies and guided by them to cease my practice as a Reiki master from the Ushui school, and I was guided in my heart to abandon it, not because it was a dishonorable therapy, because I know it touched a lot of lives. But the message I got was it was a predominant male energy. It did not embrace the divine feminine, so there was an unequal energy, unlike Teramai and Sikhem Reiki. And that came about through practitioners from Dr. Ushui, who started adding and subtracting very much like the Christian church. And in the previous video about Magdalena, we talked about how King Constantine removed certain passages because they didn't wash with his understanding. And then, of course, at the Council of Nicaea, which he facilitated, Augustine had a big influence as the Bishop of Hippo, where he more or less summoned women priests who were trained by Paul, going right back to that lineage, to Pauline theology, and he more or less insisted that women get back to keeping house and having children. Quite a derogatory statement, but these are facts backed up in history with the historical accounts. But Magdalena and Jesus must be approached as one twin flame. They are twin flames. They grew up together, though Magdalena was from the tribe of Benjamin and Jesus from the tribe of David, but they came together in their incarnation as part of their sacred contract. And the company of heaven allowed this. And it was all part of the divine mystery. But Magdalena and Jesus today Their energies are powerful as individuals, but when you bring them together as a collective energy, something profound happens to you. Well, for me, I can only speak for me. I can't speak for you. But in my case, I was made aware that I had an imbalance of energy in my being, in my relationship with God. And all of that was down to fear. Fear. And I can say with my hand on my heart that I was guided to come to God, the Father Mother, as a Father Mother God, male and female energy. But I was equally guided to come to Christ and Magdalena as one energy, 50-50, male, female, and invite their energies into my life. And ever since I've done that, I've tried to be watchful that there isn't an imbalance, that there's always a balance of male and female energy. Because the two represent the Hieros Gamos, the sacred marriage. And if we ignore what our heart is saying to us, what we do is we begin a spiral right down, not up, a downward spiral into ego. And we rape our divinity as a child of God because we're coming to it from one predominant energy. And it's so important in our prayer life, in our ministry, whether we're therapists, light workers, ordinary men and women who have a love affair with God. We must come from a place of balance, because that place of balance initiates harmony, and that facilitates divine connectedness. And I've said it before, and I guess I'll have to say it again. If the heart is not in balance, there's imbalance, because the heart is the gateway to the soul, the higher self, the God self, the God center within. And when we come from that place of balance and love, then the soul becomes the gateway to the Supreme. And one way that Jesus and Magdalena empowered me to take on board the responsibility for balance and support light workers was to be their mentor, facilitator for the course in Ascenic Energy Medicine for practitioners. Very much like the Tree of Life course, they're all heart-centered. They're not academic. They're a heart-centered course to reawaken the information we already have in our soul's DNA. That might sound strange, but it's true. And the Tree of Life course is the course where we look at the energies of the Christ, and then we look at the energies of Magdalena, and then we look at the ancient teachings of the Essenes, because they were both Essenes, as I was, by Mount Sinai, where I was anointed and appointed by Jesus and Magdalena, and agreed to come back like many others to hold the light for the Cosmic Christ in 2012. That doesn't say that I'm somebody special. No. As a child of God, I must honor my contract. And the Tree of Life course that they guide others to do, they reawaken within them the supreme, the balance of the masculine and the feminine, because they empower the individual, reawaken to that love by surrendering their heart. Surrendering their heart. And when they do that, and they embrace the Cosmic Christ and the Divine Feminine Magdalena, something wonderful happens. You are brought to a place where you recognize your divinity as a co-creator of God, where there's equality, not inequality. And their love inspires you to begin a journey of trust. That's alien to what I ever knew, because I always came to God through my ego, my head center, because I never felt worthy enough. Balancing the feminine and masculine energies of Christ and Magdalena brings about an epiphany experience. Why not try it for yourself? Namaste.